Jamia Hamdard, Dr. Deepika Sikhaka, Associate Professor, College of Nursing, AIIMS, New Delhi, and who have joined virtually for the inaugural session. I welcome all the participants from the different places across the country. Now I'd like to invite Dr. Deepika Sikhaka, Associate Professor, College of Nursing, AIIMS, New Delhi. Ma'am is a pillar of strength for us and a constant guide and extremely proactive in leading her team to make this program possible successful. So I request ma'am for the welcome speech and unfolding the theme.
Thank you, Surbala. On this occasion of World Suicide Prevention Day 2021, the theme of today's World Suicide Prevention Day is Creating Hope Through Action, which reflects an apparent need for collective action to be addressed in tackling this public health issue. We know all of us can be a support to the people who are struggling and suffering and battling this issues of mental health, and all of us collectively, be it a family member or a friend or a co-worker, community health member, a religious leader, an educator, or a healthcare professional, political officials, can make a difference in and contribute in preventing this suicide, which is also turning into a pandemic now. We know that in every 40 seconds a person takes his life. So, creating hope through action, which is the theme of this year, this theme is basically chosen so that all the people who are struggling are supported, equipped, and inspired, and they feel that there is a light in the end of the tunnel and they can reach out and seek help. As per the reports of PubMed Central, suicide we know is suicidal tendency is directly related to mental health issues, like especially depression. And we all know, since we are facing this corona pandemic, it has taken a major toll in the mental health of everyone, all cut across all sections of the society, and it has severe mental health implications. So we are facing issues like lockdown, quarantine, social distancing, and isolation, which has made the need very much apparent to generate hope among people who are silently suffering with this issue of suicide. The overall goals of this webinar is basically Suicide Prevention Day is celebrated to generate awareness among people, also to destigmatize and reduce stigma. Apart from that, to generate hope among people who are struggling, that they can reach out and ask for help. And suicide is preventable, as we all know. So the objectives of this webinar are to identify the risk factors and warning signs of suicide, to promote self-empowerment, to address self-harm and suicide through preventive actions, and to promote capacity building among healthcare providers. So with this, I welcome you all and unfold the theme of today's webinar, which is Creating Hope Through Action. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, I would like to request Dr. Professor Rakesh Kumar Chadda, a well-known personality in the field of psychiatry. Sir is the head of Department of Psychiatry and the Chief of National Drug Dependence Treatment Center, AIIMS. Sir is the Fellow of the Royal College of Psychiatrists, UK, International Distinguished Fellow of American Psychiatric Association, Honorary Fellow of the World Association of Social Psychiatry, National Academy of Medical Sciences of India, Editorial Board Member of British Journal of Psychiatry, and Sir is a recipient of the 15th National Award in the Psychiatry and more than 250 publications to his credit, including the monograph and books. Now I would like to request Chief Guest of today's inaugural session, Professor Rakesh Kumar Chadda, to address the gathering, sir. Sir, can you hear us? सर का यहाँ का हेलो सर Sir, can you hear us? I would request Professor Rakesh Kumar Chadda to address the gathering. Sir, can you hear me?
I'm busy right now. I'm in a webinar. I'll call you back. Huh? Okay, okay, okay. We are basically technical glitch.
We are just having some technical glitch right now, so Dr. Chadda will be joining soon along with us.
Video or something. Sir said he'll be joining. There's some glitch. He'll be joining in 2 minutes. Chadda to join. Uh, I really appreciate you joining this program, and this is a very important cause which can be a lifesaver, and we can play a very important role, be it to a friend or a family member or anybody in the community. And our awareness is very important, that anybody, whoever says or requires help, that also takes a lot of effort to reach out. So when a person ever you pick up some red flags and see the person requires help, one should not waste any time and immediately be supportive and encourage the person to seek help. And we all know that as healthcare professionals, it is not only patients with mental illness require that. Anybody facing any kind of stress, be it any kind of loss, like being separation, loss of job, loss of a relationship, are all vulnerable high risk groups. Now especially with this pandemic, even the children and adolescents, they are not socializing and at home for the last 2 years, are also having many mental health implications, and it is taking a major load on all of us. So we have to be vigilant, be aware, be sensitive to anybody who you feel requires help, and should reach out and not shirk or not think twice before reaching out and helping. And it has been, in my own experience, a lifesaver. Sometimes after my class, students approach us and do verbalize, and one has to also destigmatize and create awareness to say that this is not a sign of weakness if you are feeling like that. Many people don't approach or access healthcare services thinking that people will think or judge them. We have to be non-judgmental and encourage and support, and be well ready to take out your time and reach out and help people in need. We are still awaiting Dr. Chadda to join. As soon as he joins, we will resume our inauguration program, and I will appreciate all of you to be till the end, because the feedback form, after you fill the feedback form, only the certificate will be generated. So kindly stay and attend till the end, because this is a awareness generation and all of us need to learn. Learning is something which you can never say that I know everything. Learning never ends. We know it's from womb to tomb. So there is always a need for learning, and there is always, every day you have something new to learn. So with that spirit, I really appreciate you joining. Hello. अच्छा ठीक है सर, ओके। I regret the technical glitch. Sir has joined online. You are awaiting our chief guest of the day to give his words of wisdom. So Dr. Chadda has joined. So Professor Chadda, please.
Very comfortable with the Google Meet. Now join from the phone. Please go ahead, sir.
Hmm. So ma'am joins now. Tell her to. We'll invite her to speak. Madam has joined. She was saying, can I join online? Just keep a watch out.
We can stop. Ask this.
So we can see you.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me also?
Yes, sir, we can hear you also. Yes, sir, we can hear you.
दो डिवाइस ऑन कर लिए शायद।
Sir, we are now facing echo because I think two devices are on.
We can mute one device.
Sir, please mute one, sir.
दोनों बंद कर दिए.
Sir, you can start, sir.
Sir, we can start.
No, please, sir.
Good morning, sir. Sir, I welcome the chief guest of today's inaugural session, Professor Rakesh Kumar Chadda, in the field of psychiatry. His sir is the head of department of the psychiatry and the chief of National Drug Dependent Treatment Center, AIIMS. And sir is a fellow of the Royal College of Psychiatrists, UK, International Distinguished Fellow of American Psychiatric Association, Honorary Fellow of the World Association of Social Psychiatry, Fellow National Academy of Medical Sciences of India, and sir is the editorial board member of British Journal of Psychiatry. Sir is the recipient of the 15th National Award in the Psychiatry and more than 250 publications to his credit, including the monograph and books. Now I would like to request sir to deliver the speech to the gathering, sir.
Sir, please unmute, sir.
Sir, please unmute yourself, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much. Sorry for all this confusion. Good morning, Dr. Lata Venkateshan, Principal College of Nursing, Dr. Deepika Kaka, and dignitaries on the dais. It gives me great pleasure to be here virtually on the occasion of World Suicide Prevention Day. That's 10th of September 2021. First of all, I would regret for delaying this session because of the connectivity issues, and regret for not being able to come physically because today I am at Natural Drug Dependence Treatment Center at Ghaziabad. World Suicide Prevention Day is celebrated or say is organized as an activity of International Society for Suicide Prevention. This society, IASP, organizes this day every year, and its society has the main objective of suicide prevention. As we all know, that suicide is one of the leading causes of death uh, in the young age group or the youth, which is the most productive period of life. And a large number of suicides can be prevented. And nursing professionals play a very important role, can play an important role, very important role in suicide prevention, because nursing professionals are often the gatekeepers to any health service in the society. And nursing professionals are often also one of the first persons to identify as well as to take interventions for suicide prevention. Basically, it's a person who is in distress, who has suffered a major loss in the recent period. This loss could be in the form of financial loss or failure in examination or a failure in a relationship or losing a loved one or being diagnosed with a life-threatening serious illness. And a large number of persons who commit suicide or who attempt suicide also suffer from mental and substance use disorders. It's a known fact that 10 to 15% of patients who suffer from severe mental illnesses like schizophrenia or bipolar disorder or depression, they end their life with by committing suicide. It has been estimated that every 40 seconds, someone around the world loses life by suicide. The number of persons who attempt suicide is more than 10 or say 10 to 20 times the number who commit suicide. And in our country, suicide has been often unreported because it was considered as as per the Indian penal law, it was taken as a criminal offense, though the decriminalization of suicide has taken place in the recent past, which has been a major legal reform which has occurred in our country. So a large number of persons who commit suicide, especially in our country, they remain unreported. And the persons who often they don't want like to express or share their suicidal ideation or suicidal impulses because of that fear of that they may be labeled as criminal or sometimes out of stigma. So in that background, it becomes very important to bring a community or bring community awareness among the community that suicidal ideas or ideation or suicidal impulses, they are part of mental illness. They can be prevented, they can be treated, they can be effectively treated. So other thing is whenever we also have we have to take some intervention at in the media, because media in our country especially has often played in a irresponsible way by often sensationalizing the news of suicide, and it has been well reported that copycat suicides are common. If someone commits suicide by specific means and that means is publicized, other people would also copy that kind of behavior, that kind of method to commit suicide. Similarly, these days in the website also we can see the methods of committing suicide. So there needs to be control over these specific areas which can help and definitely in preventing suicide. Then the persons who are getting these ideas, they need to be sensitized that they need to take help, they need to share their feelings with the close ones, with the family members, with the circle. So these can help in preventing suicide. Similarly, as a health professional, whenever we come with any person who is contacting health services and is expressing distress, ideas of helplessness, hopelessness, which are often the precursors to the suicidal ideation or expressing death wishes. So we need to take immediate intervention. We need to see immediate psychiatric intervention. In outpatients also, whenever we get a patient who is expressing suicidal ideas or we feel that the person is at risk to commit suicide, we generally hospitalize the patient. Patient should not be kept alone. Patient should not have access to any such maneuvers or such things like sharp objects or anything with which the person can commit suicide. So we take such precautions. In psychiatric wards, we have special, because like in our, we don't keep the latches inside the washroom, doors of the washroom. So these are some of the important precautions that are often taken in psychiatric inpatient units. So this is just to share these thoughts. I thought that it's important to share these thoughts with the audience. So I hope this today's program will help in further strengthening the skills of the attendees at suicide prevention, and today's lectures by the dignitaries, they will further reinforce and further update the suicide prevention steps which can be taken by the health professionals and the nursing professionals. And these remarks, I again thank you all for inviting me for this today's program, and my best wishes to all the delegates and all the faculty and the College of Nursing at AIIMS for this program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for joining with us for this program. And I hope that all the participants will be getting a lot of knowledge from your speech. So everyone will be coming forward to work in this aspect. Thank you once again, sir. Now I would like to request Mr. Ajesh Kumar TK, Associate Professor, College of Nursing, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Surbala. Wishing you all a very good morning. I am Ajesh Kumar TK on the behalf of Organizing Committee and College of Nursing AIIMS New Delhi. First of all, I would like to thank God Almighty. By His blessing and grace, we are able to make this event happen today. We are grateful to our director, Professor Randeep Guleria, for his enthusiastic support to conduct this program. I would like to thank our esteemed chief guest, Professor Dr. R.K. Chadda, Head of the Department, AIIMS, Head of the Department Psychiatry and Chief NDDC Center, AIIMS New Delhi, who graced us with thought-provoking address. I must mention our deep sense of appreciation for Dr. Lata Venkatesan, Principal, College of Nursing, for all her support to conduct this program. A big thank to all the speakers, Dr. Veena Sharma, Dr. Sailashmi Gandhi, Dr. Sunita Sharma, and Dr. Deepika Sikaka. I hope all the participants will enlightened with your didactic sessions. Further, I would like to thank all the faculties and the supporting staff of College of Nursing AIIMS New Delhi for their support for this event. We are grateful to have all the participants for showing their interest in this program. Without them, this event couldn't be possible. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the staff of all set facility AIIMS New Delhi for their perfect logistic support and the guidance they have extended to us for this program. Last but not the least, I thank MSc Nursing second year student Komal, Naresh, Shika and Trisha for their Okay. Thank you so much for that.
No, I think he has to repeat.
I think my good not Ajesh.
You again announced it.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry for that. Now I would request Mr. Ajesh Kumar TK, Associate Professor, College of Nursing, to deliver the vote of thanks.
I hope am I audible now? Can anyone participant please confirm? Thank you. Wishing you all good morning. I am Ajesh Kumar on the behalf of Organizing Committee and College of Nursing, AIIMS New Delhi. First of all, I would like to thank God Almighty for His blessing and the grace. Because of that, we are able to make this event happen today. We are grateful to our director, Dr. Randeep Guleria, AIIMS New Delhi, for his enthusiastic support to conduct this program. I would like to thank our esteemed chief guest, Professor R.K. Chadda, head of the Department Psychiatry, AIIMS New Delhi, who graced us with thought-provoking address today. I must mention our deep sense of appreciation for Dr. Lata Venkatesan, Principal, College of Nursing, for all the support to conduct this program. A big thank you for all the speakers, Dr. Veena Sharma, Dr. Sailashmi Gandhi, Dr. Sunita Sharma, and Dr. Deepika Sikaka. I hope all the participants will be enlightened with your didactic sessions. Further, I would like to thank all the faculties, supporting staff of College of Nursing AIIMS New Delhi for their support for this event. We are grateful to all the participants for showing their interest in this program. Without them, this event couldn't be possible. I would like to take this opportunity to place on record our sincere thanks to staff of said facility, AIIMS New Delhi, for their perfect logistic support. Last but not the least, I thank MSc Nursing Psychiatric students Komal, Naresh, Shikha, and Tisha for their sincere effort since the beginning and to make this event happen today. Once again, thank you very much for all who have joined offline and online. Good day.
Thank you, Ajesh. Once again, I, Shudbala Devi, would like to thank all the participants, experts, and our invitees for attending this program virtually to celebrate the World Suicide Prevention Day 2021, hoping to bring a new hope, a new beginning, and a new life for those who are suffering. I would like to conclude with a quote by the Barack Obama. To anyone out there who is suffering, it's not a sign of weakness to ask for help. It's a sign of strength. So once again, thank you one and all who have joined virtually for this program. Thank you. Later, we'll be starting with the webinar shortly. Please stay with us. Thank you.
Now please mute it.
Display the poster.
Can you start the
पोस्टर दिखा दो, उठ के जाएंगे, अच्छा नहीं होगा.
Once again.
The best. और ये बोतल रखनी है ना.
अभी वेबिनार शुरू होगा. हाँ, थोड़ा पीछे आ जाओ एक बार अच्छे से पोज.
I will arrange
पोस्टर मेन पोस्टर वो कहाँ है?
I welcome everyone for the session. I also take this opportunity to welcome our first speaker, Dr. Veena Sharma. Ms. Veena Sharma. She is the principal, Faculty of Nursing, Jamia Hamdard University, New Delhi, India. She has completed her MSc Nursing from RAK College of Nursing, and she also completed MPhil in Education from Delhi University. Some of her awards and fellowships includes, uh, you know, she has presented research and scientific papers at various platforms and forums. She is the chief editor of Journal of Psychiatric Nursing. She has participated in She is the chief editor of Journal of Psychiatric Nursing. Participated in faculty student exchange program under Athena Higher Education Project at Sweden. She is the member of Sigma Theta 2 International Honor Society of Nursing and Indian Society of Psychiatric Nursing, having professional association with American Society of Higher Education and Academy of Hospital Administration, IGNO, and other universities in the past. She has working experience of more than 29 years in nursing. She has more than 50 publications in various national and index journals. Uh, we have the opportunity to listen to her on this World Suicide Prevention Day. So I welcome you, madam. I'll share the slide.
Thank you, Dr. Muthu. I'm going to be here on this day, which is the World Suicide Prevention Day, and it comes on 10th day of September. And at the outset, I would like to thank the organizers, that is Dr. Deepika Cecil Khaka, Dr. Lata Desh, and all my colleagues, that is Surmana, Ajesh, and all the students who have organized this webinar today here. And I think this webinar is based on the theme of the day, that is creating hope through action. And the action that we are taking here is by organizing this webinar for creating awareness and talking about suicide openly and thus destigmatize it. And the topic that I have given to talk about is risk factors and warning signs of suicide.
Yeah.
So here is this case. This is one 16-year-old athlete. She is a diver and a very successful one at that. And she dies by suicide. And allegedly, the reason for her suicide was that there was a relationship issue. So there were many factors which made her at risk. Here is another case. As you can see here, this is the famous Burari family mass suicide case where 11 members of the family died by suicide overnight. They were in the age spectrum of 15 to 77 years, and allegedly what they made them at risk, we are still making hunches on that. We still have not singled down what was the cause or what were the risk factors, but some of the risk factors which we have been working on is maybe they had a shared psychotic disorder, or maybe one of the family members has had hallucinations. Maybe he was hallucinating, command hallucinations there. Was the family following a cult? Were they attempting to attain salvation? Or whether they were into some kind of mysticism? We would never know that. But these are some of the hunches being made till date. So what are risk factors for suicide? Risk factors are conditions that increase the chance that a person may die by suicide. And while we understand that there is no single cause for suicide, there are risk factors and warning signs which may increase the likelihood of an attempt to suicide. However, learning about these risk factors and warning signs can save lives. So we'll talk about risk factors first. Any person who has had a history of suicide will is likely to attempt suicide again, and that is seen in 25 to 33% of cases. Another risk for suicide, the big one, is that people who are suffering from clinical depression or depressive disorder, they tend to have suicide ideations, and people who are convalescing or recovering from depression are more vulnerable to suicide than people who are in severe depression. Family factors are some other factors. 50% of people who die by suicide have some or the other family reasons, like maybe they have a disconnect with their parents, or the parent child bond is missing, or they belong to a dysfunctional family, or there are parents with substance use disorder, or parents or one of the parents has a psychopathology like depression and schizophrenia and other psychotic disorders. Then another risk factor is that any person who has a history of physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, domestic violence, and conflicts in home or outside home is also vulnerable. Then people who are homosexual, they are at risk. 42% of LGBTQAI plus people experience suicidal ideations. Then people who have easy access to firearms, toxic chemicals or medications are also at risk. Like for example, those who are having clinical depression and they have these firearms or toxic chemicals or medications within their vicinity, then they are also at risk. There was one patient who had clinical depression, and his father was an ex-serviceman, and because his father was an ex-serviceman, he had his service pistol around, and he died by suicide by shooting himself in the head. That is because the gun was around in the house. As far as toxic chemicals are concerned, farmers in India, they have easy access to insecticides and pesticides and sulfase tablets, and they tend to die by suicide by consuming these toxic chemicals. And as far as medications are concerned, minor tranquilizer, major tranquilizer, sleeping pills, these are some of the medications which, if a person has access to, then he plans on taking them. Then people who have been adopted, they also are at loss of maybe meaning in their life, or they are looking at their roots, and when they're not able to find them, then they feel frustrated and they feel despair, and that puts them at risk. Psychiatric diagnosis, as Dr. Chadda had also told, that the people who have psychiatric diagnosis, they are also at risk for suicide. Suicide is considered to be one of the psychiatric emergencies, and more than 90% of adults who take their own lives by suicide have an associated psychiatric illness. Mood disorders is seen in 15% of people who die by suicide. Substance use disorders in 20 to 50%. Schizophrenia, 10 to 15%, and in schizophrenia especially those who have second person hallucinations or command hallucinations. The voices tell the person to take their own lives, and they comply with those voices. And people who have anxiety disorders, anxiety and depression, they tend to coexist. So people who have anxiety disorders and other psychiatric disorders like eating disorders, body dysmorphic disorders, that is those who are not happy with the way they appear to others, and personality disorders, namely antisocial personality disorder and borderline personality disorder. Then other risk factors include people who are in certain professions, especially police officers, because the nature of their job is such that they are in stress, and they're in duress most of the times. Then healthcare providers who work with terminally ill patients, or those who work with in palliative care units, ICUs, because of the nature of the work environment, they tend to be burnt out, and they tend to have compassion fatigue, because they see people dying all around them as part of their job. And even people who are in armed forces, they are also at risk because of the nature of job being high stress one, and also because they have easy access to firearms. Then people who are unmarried or widows or widowers, they tend to live alone. People who are you know, people who are living alone because of the children having moved away to other countries. Then people who are unskilled or unemployed because of financial troubles, they are at risk. Then people with substance abuse problems are also vulnerable to suicide. And then people with long-term pain or disabling or terminal illness are also, they also think that they would get rid of the pain once they end their life. Especially, I would like to talk about what pushes young people to the edge of what makes them suicidal. So, young people have pressure to perform in academics, and students who have performed poorly in academics or who come from disadvantaged families, they report higher rates of depression. You might know that in Rajasthan, Kota is the place where there are coaching centers, and aspirants who want to become engineers, doctors, they go there for coaching. And parents of these young people have high expectations of them, and sometimes when they are not able to cope up with the pressure of expectations, and when they're not able to come up to the expectations of their family, they consider themselves a failure, and they're not able to cope with this failure, and because of that they opt to end their lives. Then even young people, adolescents and young people who are appearing in board exams in 10th or 12th class, they are also at risk because they have to perform well, they have to excel well. Anything less than 99% is considered not good enough, and they have this pressure on them to find admission for themselves in the top notch engineering and medical schools. And once they're not able to make the cut, they feel under duress and pressure, and they think that suicide is the only way out for them. This is another reason for suicide in young people. A few years ago, there was this blue whale suicide game, and that was one cause for suicide amongst the teenagers. The next one. So, another cause amongst young people for dying by suicide is bullying. And bullying can include cyberbullying. It can also include body shaming, which is very common these days. Fat shaming. People who are on Instagram, they are body shamed most of the times. They are trolled, and sometimes they're not able to handle the stress which comes along with this kind of bullying and trolling, and they think that they need to end their lives in order to get rid of all those pressures to look a certain way. Then even they have young people, they also have pressures besides academics through co-curricular activities like on TV reality shows, and in sports they think that they have to excel, and anything less than that would just not do for them. Then there are some factors predisposing suicides in India. Family problems and illness tops the chart with 55%. People who have these problems, either a family dispute or family conflicts or illness in themselves, they tend to die by suicide. Then drug abuse and drug addiction is seen very commonly as a predisposing factor. Then failure in love affairs, then financial problems such as bankruptcy or sudden change in economic status, where people lose jobs or they do poorly in their business, and that makes them maybe take loans and debts, and because of that, when they are not able to repay the loans and debts, they think that they have to look at a way out, and they think of the suicide. Then failure in examination is a very common cause amongst young people. Then poverty, and then dowry disputes. Then genetic and familial causes, predisposing factors are also there, and also biochemical factors. We'll look at the warning signs now. Warning signs of suicide. Most of the times you would think that people who die by suicide, they would be generally sad, and they would be depressed. But at times it has been seen that people who die by suicide, before attempting suicide, they seem to appear very calm and cheerful and happy. And even the family members, they report that how could this person commit suicide? He was so happy, or she was so happy and cheerful the day before the suicide. So actually, this is this strange cheerfulness and happiness before people commit suicide is due to the fact that they think that by ending their lives, they will end their miseries and sorrows, and that makes them at ease and calm. Otherwise, people do not understand the reason for the calmness and cheerfulness just before the act of suicide in people or in their family members. Then another warning sign for suicide is that people who are contemplating suicide, they talk about suicide, they express wishes, and they express thoughts about death. They express things like that they have no reason to live, they feel like a burden on their family and on this earth, they feel trapped in their lives and not able to get out of that trap, and they feel unbearable pain, hurt and pain, and therefore that's the kind of talk that predominates their mind. Then clinical depression is one warning sign, and especially people who are convalescing from depression. Then people who are contemplating suicide, they have trouble eating, sleeping, especially they may eat too much or too less, they may sleep too much or too less. They also tend to have social isolation, and as Dr. Deepika Khaka had also told that during the pandemic time, social isolation has been a problem, and people more than ever are not meeting people and not making physical contacts with each other, and they tend to be more at home, confined to their homes, and not interacting, isolating, and that is one risk factor, and that is also a warning sign that people who are contemplating suicide, they tend to isolate themselves. Some other warning signs include that people who are contemplating suicide, they express death wishes. They also show risk-taking behaviors, especially reckless riding a bike, or driving an automobile at a top speed. Then they also show anger and aggression. They tend to pick up fights as if they don't care about their lives, or they don't care being hurt during the fights and quarrels. They also complain of tiredness and fatigue as if they are tired of living. They also express hopelessness, helplessness, and worthlessness as if they can't see hope in the world. They feel that they are so miserable that nothing can help them to feel better, and they feel that they are just not worth living. Life is not worth living. And they express it in their talks and thoughts. Then people who are contemplating suicide also tend to put affairs in order, like maybe writing a will. Then they also visit people, and they call on people, and as if they are saying their final goodbyes to them. Then another warning sign of suicide is increased use of alcohol or drugs. Then people tend to withdraw from activities, and also people who are contemplating or thinking about suicide, they tend to give away prized possessions, something which they value. A special mention which I would give here is about farmers' suicide in India. because that is one thing that we urban people tend to ignore. And as we all may know, that India is an agrarian society. That means 65% of India lives in rural areas. And till a few years ago, farmers in India were dying by suicide, especially in southern states like Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Maharashtra, which is a western state in India. And some of the reasons for why farmers were uh, contemplating and attempting suicide were that uh, because they were failing in their crops, because the monsoon did not arrive on time, or it was scanty monsoon. They didn't have adequate water for irrigating their farms, and as a result, their crops failed despite all the hard work that they had put in. Then sometimes pests attacks, then diseases, and also the fact that although we are an agrarian society, agriculture has been considered to be a loss-making profession. And also farmers being in heavy debts and not getting their due in lieu of their crop. Those are some of the reasons for farmers' suicide, and that is something which we cannot ignore, considering the fact that 65% of India is rural. So these were some warning signs, and we just discussed about risk factors for suicide and warning signs and some of the predisposing factors. And by knowing about them, as we discussed earlier, also by knowing about them, we can prevent suicide, and that is one of the reasons why we are here celebrating this World Suicide Prevention Day today on 10th of September. Um, I thank you all for your patient listening, and look forward to the other deliberations by other expert speakers.
Is there any doubt or if any queries from the participants?
Or if the participants have anything to add or discuss.
Yeah. If there is no queries, and thank you very much, madam, for
Thank
your enlightening session on this topic. We go to the next session. The next presenter will be Dr. Deepika Kaka. One second. Yeah. Let me introduce the speaker, Dr. Deepika C. Dr. Deepika C. She is an senior associate professor, College of Nursing, AIIMS, New Delhi, and she has completed BSc Nursing from RAK and MA Psychology and MSc Nursing from RAK College of Nursing. She has completed her PhD from IGNOU. And some of her awards, fellowships, and achievements include she has 3 awards and 2 fellowships. Awarded AIIMSonians of America Award for the year 1999. She has been awarded AIIMSonian of America Award for Best Research for 2016. Awarded as a top poster Evidence Alive 13 conference at Oxford University, UK, held on March 13, 2013. She has been awarded Fogarty Fellowship at New York University 2002 to 3, and she has been awarded Advanced AITRP Fellowship at University of California, Los Angeles in 2007. She's been national consultant for 2 organizations and international consultant for 3 organizations, member of professional bodies 5, journal of editorial member of journals 5, and she's been reviewer of 18 national and international journals, and currently she's running. There are 2 national and 2 international research projects under her, and she's a research supervisor for 4 PhD students and 1 MD and 48. She has guided 48 MSc nursing students and she has published 55 papers in indexed national journals and more than 350 citations, and she has written 10 chapters and monographs, and this is only a kind of summary of her achievements and qualifications. So due to the time restraint, I just summarized and only highlighted her achievements, and I welcome Dr. Deepika Kakka. We are waiting to hear you. I request all the participants to mute your mic, please.
A very good morning to all of you. I welcome you all for this celebration of World Suicide Prevention Day. As we have already talked about the theme, which is creating hope through action, am I audible and clear? I request all the participants to kindly mute your mics. Thank you so much. As we have been talking about creating hope through action, I'll be predominantly speaking out how to create hope. And we all know that suicide is a pandemic which is generally seen mostly in middle income and low income countries, and just go behind. We are aware that we live a busy lifestyle, and generally, because of the busy lifestyle, there is no time to process our own thoughts, and that leads to mental health issues. And most of the time, there are underlying problems which go unassessed, and the necessary attention or the necessary intervention which is required to address these mental health issues are not taken into account. We have been already talking about this, that WHO has reported that every 40 seconds a person in the world commits suicide, and approximately 8 lakhs people die every year due to suicide. Majority of this, like around 75% of the suicide, occurs in middle income and low income countries, and we all know that suicide are preventable if timely intervention is given, if person reaches out, seeks help. And undiagnosed and untreated mental illness, suicide is the biggest reason behind suicide when the timely intervention is not taken. And we all are aware that people generally hesitate to ask for help or hesitate to reach out is because of the stigma which is associated with the issues they are facing, and it is generally there is a myth that there is a sign of weakness if a person feels like that, so thereby people are hesitant to reach out and ask for help. World Suicide Day, Prevention Day, International Association of Suicide Prevention initiated this World Suicide Prevention Day in the year 2003 in Stockholm, and this was endorsed by WHO as well as the World Health Federation for Mental Health. The aims of World Suicide Prevention Day was to research and collect data regarding suicidal behavior, to determine the causes, as Dr. Veena Sharma must have discussed, the reasons why a person can think of ending his life are because of various kind of losses a person is facing. At times it happens in different stages of life, like children and adolescents, elderly people facing chronic illnesses, people facing severe health concerns, some diseases which have no cure. At times, the signs go unnoticed. That is why awareness needs to be generated. We have to develop some practices and policies for suicide prevention, be it wherever we are working, at our workplace, at schools, at colleges, etc. The goals of World Suicide Prevention Day are, the main goals are organization of global, regional, national and multi-sectoral activities to increase awareness about suicidal behaviors and how effectively we can do interventions to prevent them, give prompt and timely help, and to strengthen countries' capabilities to develop and evaluate the national policies and plans for suicide prevention. The theme of this year, which is going to be like a 3-year theme, is creating hope through action, and this signifies the the sense of purpose which we can inculcate in these patients who require help, patients who are struggling and battling with issues, and empowering and equipping these people with skills and confidence so that they are not hesitant to connect with someone and seek help. Now, why hope is important? What is the reason why we are so much focusing on hope? Because hope is the awareness that the goals can be achieved. It is not something very Herculean or out of reach with the person suffering from mental illness can feel. So thereby, hope is the awareness that these goals are achievable, doable, feasible and reachable. Then goals give people a momentum to keep on living, to keep on moving on, to keep on achieving or striving for whatever they intend to. And hope sees real and hard obstacles on the path to reaching goals, but it motivates us to stick around. We all know, all of us, especially in this current pandemic, are facing, everyone is fighting a battle. And all of us know some people are, because of this pandemic have lost jobs, some people have lost people, family, relationships. And we all know that still people are battling and trying to achieve whatever, their goals are in life and trying to move on with whatever losses, whatever kind of losses individuals are facing, especially in the view of this current pandemic which we are facing. So hope is very important. It gives you a driving force or a fuel to go on. Now, when a person requires help, a person is having suicidal intentions or suicidal ideation, what requires to be done is the person reaches out, you connect, you discuss, and you search for resources. So we will talk about this one by one. In relation to connection, what can we do to connect? We reach out to somebody who may need help. If you are able to pick up red flags, a person is behaving in such a way that you feel, yeah, the person is suicidal. Sometimes person may not say, you will be subtle. It is widely known that certain behaviors indicate the possibility of suicide, and we can all learn the warning signs. Dr. Veena has already explained very intricately the warning signs of suicide, and if we spot them early, prompt action requires to be taken. So any ideation or any threat of suicide should not be taken casually. Prompt and immediate action should be done. Discussing is very important. Generally, people are hesitant to discuss about mental health issues. Like we talk about diabetes and hypertension very easily. If a person is having a problem, the person will say that I am diabetic, I am on diet control. But generally, there is a kind of hesitancy or a kind of, a hiccup. A person does not like to talk about mental health issues. So talking about the issue itself is a very brave step, and we should also say that this is like physical health is important. Similarly, mental health is also important, and there should be no stigma attached to discuss or talk about your mental health issues. So to increase awareness about suicidal behavior, we have to know how to effectively prevent them. Suicides are preventable, and if we do timely intervention, we are able to save lives. So this can be a lifesaver. We should know what resources to tap on. Like we should access resources for people to learn about the reasons for suicide and how to prevent it. So we should be aware. Nowadays, many things are available on social media. Very motivational, messages are given. There are countless literature which is available, like books, films, events online which can give you the right direction, show you the right path, and we can contact. There are many suicidal helpline numbers which are available. So if a person has asked you for help, you can, a person is confided, we can access those outline numbers, and we can also, if we, any information or any kind of post you see on social media, be it on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, which kind of conveys a person's cry for help, one should immediately do the needful. I'll just quote a personal example. During the COVID time, one of my friends from college, wrote a very sad post on the Facebook. So the moment I read it, I just called her and I asked her how she doing. So she was very depressed because she was isolated, and she was down with corona, and she was facing many mental health concerns. So when I called her up, I supported her. I made her feel good, and I kind of gave the support which is to be given to a person who's alone, sick, and not able to communicate with family members. So why I'm giving this example, sharing this example, is that we have to be very vigilant. Anything we see which we think is a red flag requires intervention, we should not hesitate to contact that individual. Reaching in is that we have to promote awareness, like we are holding and hosting this webinar. This is basically for awareness generation. So that is very important that we sensitize people regarding mental health issues, especially suicide, and not stigmatize this act. Okay. Otherwise, because of stigma, people are hesitant to reach out and ask for help. So to promote awareness that suicide is a public health problem, to develop broad-based support for suicide prevention, we should have policies in our workplace, in schools, in colleges, which would promote people to reach out, ask for help, and the needful can be done, which can save lives. And develop and implement strategies to reduce stigma, and especially the people who are like the consumers of mental health services, substance use people, and suicide prevention services. So there should be no stigma attached or any kind of hesitancy for people to approach these services, and the people who are approaching these services should not be marginalized or stigmatized. So that kind of awareness generation requires to be done. That kind of attitude change is required in the community. As healthcare providers and even as community, we have to develop and implement suicide prevention programs. We have to promote efforts to reduce lethal waste and methods of self-harm. Like in our country, there is an AIIMS Act. We cannot possess arms till we have a license. In countries where arms are freely available, the lethality of suicide is much higher. Implement training for recognition of at-risk behavior and delivery of effective treatment, and promote and develop effective clinical and professional practices. So this is expected from us as healthcare providers, that we should be sensitive to this issue, and we should be ready to reach out and give help to whoever we feel there's a red flag, a person who requires help, and also leisure and kind of connect people to the relevant and the accessible services which are available in the society, community, or hospital. You have to improve access and community linkage of mental health substance use services. We know the vulnerable or the high risk group for suicide are like people who are elderly, people who have any kind of losses like loss of job, loss of relationship, loss of a loved one, and people who are, with people with mental illness, people with substance use problems, people with, suffering from many grave health issues. So we have to be very vigilant around these people and generate awareness that the family should also know that the person has mental health needs and may have some self-harm behavior, so the family to be vigilant. To promote and support research on suicide and suicide prevention, evidence-based data needs to be generated as the different interventions which can work out and help to save lives, improve and expand a surveillance system. Then some of the interventions which my next speaker is going to speak about, I'll just briefly touch, is to suggest long-term psychological treatments like cognitive behavior therapy, brief intervention treatment like contact intervention, and supportive telephone calls and letters. We are all aware there are certain hotlines which are running, and if a person requires help, can access this hotline and talk to someone. Because of COVID, as we've already discussed, the students are not going to school and colleges are closed almost for 2 years now. So there are a lot of mental health issues students are facing. I'll just give you an example that school-based suicide prevention program, how this can operate is that classroom-based intervention in school needs to be given. Teachers have to be sensitized regarding identifying the signs of suicide. Good behavior game, anxiety and stress management of the student has to be addressed. Some stress busters need to be done to to steam off students with the stress and anxiety which they are facing. Now, what you can do in this program is that you encourage understanding, that is, ask for clarification, try to be safe, try to find out hobbies of the students and engage them in co-curricular activities, encourage help-seeking behavior. If somebody comes out, reaches out, that has to be encouraged. There's nothing to shy away from or nothing to feel, embarrassed about. That requires to be told to the students to make them understand that they are not alone. There is always help available and there are people there to support them. Help them to connect with people and the agencies which can help them out, and even listening to a person, a friend or a teacher can listen to them and they feel they can ventilate and they're heard and stay connected. Especially in these times of COVID-19, because of social isolation, people are students especially are attending classes from school, from home, and the parents are going to work, so they feel very lonely and isolated. They are not able to in person meet their friends, and this important phase of life is just being spent in just staying at home and not having any social contacts in person. Then this is a very important area, and this gives a lot of strength to a person who is battling issues of self-harm. That is, that anybody else who has been a victim, who has faced this suicidal intentions or ideation, is able to come out and live a normal healthy life and be proactive. So if a person, because generally as healthcare providers we tell people, like the patients with mental health issues, about suicide and how to prevent them, but they always perceive us that we are like in the other side of the fence. We may not understand what they're actually going through, the battles which they are fighting in their mind and the darkness which they are handling. So a person who has faced the problem and has battled it and has come out of it, if that person shares his experience, that is very very promising, very supportive, and very encouraging to people who are battling the suicide health issues. So healing, hope, and help are happening every day. So every person who dies of suicide, if one person dies of suicide, 316 people seriously consider suicide but do not kill themselves. So in one completed suicide, there are 316 people who intend to do but they are not able to do. They don't do. So these stories of how people, the people who have faced these problems, how they were able to handle it, how they were who came out of as victor. The story of hope and recovery is very powerful and helps people who are handling these or facing these issues, and that helps to dispel stigma and the myths about suicide. So an individual who has faced this problem, if he talks about it, comes out and talks about it to others who are facing this problem, it is very very beneficial. It is much better than any therapy because patients can relate to this person better. They feel that we are in the same boat and this person came out, so I can also do it. I can just share my experience. Like I was working as a HIV counselor, and once because HIV is also a disease with stigma associated with it. So once a person would come out, first they have this feeling of denial and all these Kubra loss, stages of death and dying. But some patients did come out and they became activists for helping people with HIV who've been recently diagnosed. So the support which they gave, whatever counseling or interventions we did, but the support which one person living with HIV gave to another, that made a phenomenal difference in the life of the patient. So that is why a person who's faced that problem, he comes out and shares it with another person who's facing the problem. It makes a whale of a difference in the life of the person. So by sharing a wide variety of mental health experiences and ways to cope with crisis, we can help others find hope and meaning and recognize ourselves in each other's story. So they are able to relate to each other much better. Like when the kind of thoughts which came to their mind and the kind of problems they faced and how they battled and came out of it, the other person listening to the story can also relate and feel, yeah, I'm not alone. The feeling of universality comes, that I'm not the only person with this problem, there are many other and they did come out, so I can come out too. So there is a lot of hope generated when a person shares his story, who had battled and come out as a victim. So the decision to share one's lived experience with suicide can be at times scary, especially when you're doing it for the first time. So before sharing your experience, you have to tell the person about the decision to share should not be taken lightly. It should be totally by the consent of the individual, that he is ready and comfortable in sharing his experiences. And the experiences sometimes may not fit into the perfect set of steps or pathways, but it has to be meaningful. And one can use there is a storytelling checklist to see what is the audience, what is the content, how you can tailor made to the people whom you're listening to. So one can follow the storytelling checklist to help to determine to share your story safely and effectively for yourself and for others. So when an individual thinks of sharing his story, you decide if you are ready to speak. Are you comfortable in discussing your story, sharing your story? You have to take and ask the consent of the person. If he's, the level of comfort level is there with the person, then decide how to share your story. What do you want to tell? How do you manage? How do you face? How do you come out? Then identify what are the areas you want to share and prepare to tell the story safely and effectively. So after the person shares his story, you should be ready to reach out to others, because people will come to you for help, because they know that you have faced that problem and you've been, you have come out of that problem. One should be very well aware what are the resources available, whom you can tell the other people who are suffering that they can go and approach and utilize. Utilize your own personal support system, people around you, your friends and family, to help you rest up and connect with other survivors. So this is what you can do proactively as a way to help other people who are facing the same problem, if an individual wants to share. Then support the person who is ready to tell the story, regardless of whether or not you choose to share their personal story. The survivors, we know that there are suicide survivors all across the globe, and there are people who had faced this problem and who have come out of it. So story is like a guiding light, a ray of hope to the people who are struggling. So stories can help others to give hope and cope well. So by sharing your experience, we can change the conversation from being a tragic one to being, the direction can be changed from being, generally suicide is viewed in the view of things going downhill, but this can be given a new light and a new turn by showing the feeling of hope and healing a person faces after facing these mental health issues. So to share your story, the individual has to introduce himself or herself, share their experiences, what they faced and how they handled it, share what helped them, what were the things which were triggering, which would help them to face and cope, and share their current experience and share the resources which are available, which they availed to handle and to face whatever they were facing. These are some helpline numbers which are available. Some of them are running 24/7. Like Sumitri in Delhi is running from Monday to Friday, which is 2 to 10 p.m. and Saturday, Sunday from 10 to 10 p.m. And Snehi in Delhi, which is services which is running daily from 2 to 6 p.m. Sanjeevani is from Monday to Friday. These are the phone numbers. Then timing is from 10 a.m. to 5:30. But Fortis helpline is running 24/7. So these are some of the helpline numbers which you can access and tell people who in case need help to access these numbers. But even not only from helpline numbers, you can, if you come to know that somebody who's having problem, listening to the person, giving them support, anybody can do, be it a family member or a friend or a neighbor or a community, person in the community or a healthcare provider. So the initial support and feeling that you are not alone, we are there to support you, can be done by anybody, not only just a healthcare provider. So I'd like to wrap up by saying that society, we know, we are celebrating this World Suicide Prevention Day. Society needs consistent and increasing advocacy. We need to generate awareness. We need to tell people to be equipped to handle people and destigmatize, which is a very important area for for people who are suffering from mental illnesses, especially depression, schizophrenia, or any other concern which makes them feel like taking their lives. That there are mental health resources which are available, so that the people struggling with mental health disorders can find help, know where to go, and reach out. So World Suicide Day is a time to reflect the value of life, that there is always hope, no matter how bad things are. There is always a ray of hope. There is always light in the end of the tunnel. I just like to end by saying that never lose hope. Storms do come in our life. Storms make people stronger and never last forever. So if you are facing any battle, that will not last forever. There is always, day after night. So thank you so much for listening. Now I will share a story of one of our people I know who have been very strong, battled the problem she had, and came out. So over to the story sharing.
Wishes to all the respected teachers and one and all present here in this.
Please, someone please confirm, are you able to hear it? Is it audible, the video?
On the theme World
Yes,
Suicide
sir.
Prevention Day.
Okay, I play from the beginning again.
Wishes to all the respected teachers and one
Just
and all
lose the
present
value.
here in this vital webinar on the theme World Suicide Prevention Day. This is the MSc Nursing student in cardiology from AIIMS Jodhpur. My hardest time began in the initial days of my college life. I was doing good and well before that. But in those days, some obsessive thoughts began to invade my mind. And those thoughts were really unwanted, and I had no motive, no intention to act on those thoughts. And those thoughts were just stuck into my mind that I could not think about all the necessary and important things in my life, and I was not able to perform even simple tasks in my life. I was losing my hope. I was not able to stand up to the demands which the time and life was having for me at that time. I was failing. And since those thoughts were really immoral, unethical, and unacceptable to the society, so I was not able to share these thoughts with any other person. So because people were judging me, they would say that you are not behaving like a grown up or you are doing it deliberately and such things. And I was not able to fight with those thoughts alone. I tried to get rid of those thoughts by making myself indulge in my hobbies and the things or activities which I used to do earlier to have a feeling of pleasure. But those things were not working at all in those days now. So gradually, that exhausting disorder turning into a fetal disorder. And eventually, when I found that yes, I am not able to fight with these thoughts. Yes, one day I got tired of fighting with those thoughts and against myself. That was really, really exhausting. So I decided to kill myself one day. Along with the thought of suicide, I realized that suicide will just be killing me, but not my problems. Moreover, I will leave my loved ones behind with more problems, and I would be the cause of those problems, which I never wanted to, which no one will ever want to. So I decided to drop off suicide plan, and I decided to stop being stigmatized with my disorder and wanted to express myself and reveal my disorder to some people who are expert and who will be able to understand and be able to feel the pain I was going through at that time. So I sought medical help. And that was the best decision I have ever taken because that is why I am alive today. And because I sought medical help, I was taking medicines regularly and I was having wonderful counseling sessions with all the psychologists and my teachers too. And they were encouraging and motivating me a lot. And they were so non-judgmental to me. And in those counseling sessions, that therapeutic communication helped me to regain my self-love, hope, and self-confidence, and which I never expected that I would ever be able to achieve back at any cost. So that was just a surprising event for me because that decision really helped me a lot and it became like a blessing for me. Within 3 to 4 months of initiation of psychiatric treatment, I became able to do my daily living activities, and those thoughts were still invading my mind and popping up into my mind, but those were not distressing that much at that time because I was learning a positive attitude and having a positive thinking pattern, which I learned in counseling to cope up with those thoughts. So my life was healing, and gradually I became able to do all those things which I used to do earlier, that is before this disorder began in my life. I would say that I learned from this disorder that because I broke the stigma which I had for this mental illness, and I sought medical help. That was the reason that I again became able to pursue my hobbies and dreams and my aims. And most importantly, I was able to enjoy little things which I was enjoying earlier in my life. And this is how I'm doing my MSc, my post graduation in a subject which I do love a lot. In the end, I would just say that if my mental illness can be healed and cured, then there are ways to deal and cure other mental disorders too. But one just need to break the stigma and seek help from right source, right people at right time. And giving up is never a solution, never a solution. But dealing with the issues is always a way to win forever. Thank you so much to all the faculty members that you allowed me to take part in this webinar.
Now Gandhi's topic is there. Dr. Gandhi's Sai Lakshmi Gandhi. Just ask some questions like this to this.
We have the I thank Dr. Deepika Kakama for a wonderful session, and additionally she has arranged for the sharing of a video by a person who overcame suicidal thoughts. I hope it will it will be helpful for many, and may show a ray of hope those who are having such thoughts in their mind. Next session, we have another eminent speaker, Dr. Shalakshmi Gandhi. She is professor and head Department of Nursing and a nursing consultant in the Psychiatric Rehabilitation Services and Geriatric Psychiatric Services and Adult Psychiatry Unit number 5 in NIMHANS, Bangalore. And let me introduce her qualification and some awards and fellowships very shortly, because very long length of there is a very long list of awards and fellowships, but I have just highlighted some of her achievements. She's MSc in Psychiatric Nursing and PhD in Nursing. Some of the awards and fellowships include Florence Nightingale National Award by President of India for Best Nurse Educator in 2014. The Florence Nightingale Award for the Best Nursing Tutor in Karnataka State. The Best Field-Based Research Article Award by Swan and NETHIM declared in 2009. Dr. Radhakrishnan Gold Medal Award for Excellence in Individual Achievements and National Development by Global Economic Progress and Research Association in 2012. Fellowship of the Dr. Ramchandra N. Murthy Foundation for Mental and Neurological Sciences for participating in the Early Career Mental Health Professional Workshop 2012 at NIMHANS. Awarded the Aparna Badri Oration 2020 by the College of Nursing, Manipal. Invited judge for the Sarla Kapoor Award oral presentation at the 3rd International Conference of Indian Society of Psychiatric Nurses with NIMHANS in 2017. Best Poster Award at the 3rd International Conference on Mental Health and Human Resilience held during 21 to 23rd of 2017 in London, UK. Best Outgoing Student in BSc Nursing in 1984 from CMC College of Nursing, Vellore. She has been chairperson in several international conferences and several ongoing. She is part of several ongoing research projects. Her publication highlights are: she has published 123 articles in indexed journals. She has, there are 11 book titles under her name. 30 plus, there is 30 chapters and 28 monographs. And she has organized 57 workshops, 3 international conferences, and she has presented 21 research papers in national conferences, another 21 papers in international conferences, and she has been resource persons in workshop and seminar in around 144 resource workshops and seminar, and she has given several public talks, and she has developed 25 IEC materials. So these are the highlights of her awards, achievements, and publications. Now I invite Dr. Shalakshmi Gandhi to present her session. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody.
Some of the participants, please confirm that it is audible.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Warm greetings from an enhanced Bangalore and also warm greetings on the occasion of Ganesha Chaturthi. Good morning also to our respected guests, Dr. Lata Venkateshan, the principal, and Dr. Chada, and also my fellow speakers, Dr. Deepika and the others. And I also thank AIIMS, College of Nursing Delhi, for giving me this opportunity to speak on proactive interventions to prevent suicide. So we all know that suicide is a very complex phenomena and it is an ever-growing problem. The outline of my content will be on evidence-based interventions in Western countries, one evidence-based intervention in India, and COVID-19 pandemic and suicide prevention, as well as implications for nursing. So, suicide is a multifactored complex problem. As we all know, suicide prevention is everyone's business. It is not just the business for mental health professionals, but each and every individual in the community should join hands to address this pandemic. Suicide also is another pandemic. No one strategy exists that's or a one size fits all solution is not does not exist in the case of suicide. So it's important that we keep that in mind. Suicide prevention strategies are different based on the country, based on the culture. So it's important to keep in mind what exactly is that particular scenario so that you select the correct strategy. The aim should be to increase protective factors and to reduce risk factors. So here is one evidence-based strategy for suicide prevention. The SOS, which when expanded reads as Signs of Suicide, from the Suicide Prevention Resource Center at USA. This is a universal school-based prevention program designed for middle and high school students. And the goals of this program are to increase student knowledge and also to improve their attitudes towards help seeking regarding depression or also help seeking on behalf of a friend. We all know that depression and suicide is a highly stigmatized area and people don't like to talk about it. People think that admitting that they are feeling depressed is actually equal to making them look like as though they are a very weak person. But it is important that they understand that seeking help is actually a sign of courageous. So engaging parents and school staff as partners in prevention through gatekeeper education is another goal in this program. Encouraging schools to develop community-based partnerships to support student mental health. So this is about SOS. There's another program called as the American Indian Life Skills Development. So this program basically looks at life skills. You are all aware about the World Health Organization generic life skills. So this is a school-based, culturally sensitive suicide prevention program for American Indian adolescents, and it is conducted thrice a week for 30 weeks, either during the school year or as an after-school program. CARE is a program which is again meant for youth. It's actually care, assess, respond, and empower. This CARE protocol is designed to empower youth and also to engage them in social support. So what happens is the youth are connected with people whom they feel very close to. It could be someone from within their family or in their personal lives, their friend or from the school environment, maybe their teacher. So once they are connected with this person, they feel more, whenever they feel low, they can go and talk to them about it and seek help. So what happens is a suicide risk assessment happens and the youth who are at risk are then connected to someone with whom they feel comfortable, so that whenever they feel low or when they are in a crisis, they can approach this person and talk about it and seek help. This care program has evidence that of reduction of suicide when it was implemented. There's another program called as Prospect, Prevention of Suicide in Primary Care Elders. We all know that older persons are at risk for suicide because of loneliness and various other reasons. The intervention components here are mainly it targets the primary care physicians. So primary care physicians take care of general health, and we know that older persons go to primary care physicians for any general health problems. So primary care physicians, if they are trained in recognizing depression and suicidal ideation, then they are able to, assess, and immediately a treatment is implemented. So a treatment algorithm also is prepared by this project. And later, if they are not able to intervene, then they are also referred to health specialists. It could be nurses, it could be social workers, or psychologists or psychiatrists. This is one evidence-based suicide prevention strategy. There are other important strategies which have evidence that once implemented, there is a reduction in suicide. Cognitive behavioral therapy for adolescent depression, dialectical behavior therapy, multi-systemic therapy with psychiatric support. These are all evidence-based intervention strategies. The National Action Alliance for Suicide Prevention from USA has also come up with a model called as a zero suicide model. So this model is an assess, intervene and monitor for suicide prevention model. So they assess for, they do a systematic screening and risk assessment for the population which is vulnerable and which is at risk for attempting suicide. They intervene with suicide specific brief psychosocial interventions. Also ongoing monitoring occurs to keep assessing whether the person is risk is reduced or risk has increased, and there's also increased contact with this vulnerable population. So it looks at zero suicide in the state. There are some best supported strategies. These are also evidence based, and systematic reviews, which was published in 2016, especially shows that these strategies work for low middle income countries like India. So one is restricting access to means of committing suicide, like pesticide, firearms, poison, etc. Responsible media reporting. We know that media likes to sensationalize and describe the entire suicide gesture. So this is actually not good for people who are listening or watching media. So responsible media reporting is important to reduce suicide attempts. Mental health acts, like for example in India we have the Mental Health Care Act, which has decriminalized suicide and actually says that people who attempt suicide need care and they should not be punished. So policies which are in place related to substances like alcohol, it could be pricing, keeping it at a very high price so that it is not available, or also having specific rules and regulations regarding sales of alcohol or prohibition of alcohol. Early identification and treatment, training of health workers like ASHA people, so follow-up care and community support following a suicide attempt. So these are all tried interventions which have evidence to show that they do work. Right now, there's a program in rural Gujarat in India titled Spirit by Patre et al. It's an integrated suicide prevention program, a randomized controlled trial, and it's funded by NIH USA. It covers around 124 villages. It has three integrated approaches: school-based, community, and community-based. Looks at children in the 14 to 16-year age group. So there are a total of 4,556 children, both in the intervention and control group, and 836 community health workers. So the children are, exposed to a 5 hours program with role plays and interactive lectures. It's called as YAM, Youth Aware of Mental Health. So a lot of inputs is given, information is given about signs and symptoms of depression and what to do when they feel low, help-seeking behavior, and The second intervention is addressing community storage of pesticides so that it's not easily accessible. And the third intervention is targeted at the community health workers. Generic gatekeeper training model also is a good model because it looks at involving people from the community. So it could be teachers, it could be college students, it could be police officials. So anyone from the community can be trained. And you are actually you're doing a lot of suicide networking, building up the support system available for preventing suicide. So this model has a process and outcome, and the input is of course funds, trainers, materials and trainees, and the activity which occurs is gatekeeper training. The output is an increase in knowledge, attitude and skill about suicide prevention. The immediate outcomes are identifying those who are at risk, the vulnerable group, and referring for help. Intermediate increase in clinical assessment and treatment, and long-term reduction in suicide. So at NIMHANS also a lot of gatekeeper training is done at the NIMHANS Center for Wellbeing over the past 5-6 years, and a huge network has been established. So we also find that in this COVID-19 pandemic, the risk for suicide has increased. So this figure shows that various factors have contributed, like isolation, quarantine, fear, uncertainty, stigma, economic fallout. So all this has contributed to increase in suicide. There is an increase in suicide during the isolation and quarantine because of increased domestic violence, increased child abuse. So all this has led to depression, anxiety, and compounded with biological risk factors like genetic loading in the family, pre-existing psychiatric disorders, previous history of suicide attempts, along with psychosocial risk factors, has led to a reduction in immunity along with the COVID infection, of course, and probably this has led to increased vulnerability to suicide. So suicide prevention strategies during this pandemic, clear assessment intervention guidelines in place, online based crisis interventions, digital resources for coping, flexible crisis helplines, volunteer workforce for outreach, training of local authorities for emergency response. For persons with mental illness, they were actually more at risk during this pandemic because of the lockdown. They did not have access to treatment, access to drugs. So telepsychiatry, telepsychotherapy has helped a lot. Active digital follow-up in NIMHANS, like I'm sure in many other psychiatric hospitals in India, virtual follow-ups were conducted with the patient in the home, and telepsychiatry services were offered. Online medication refill in the first lockdown, actually we used Danzo services also to deliver medicines to the patients' houses. So ensuring availability of psychotropics, psychoeducation of caregivers, all this can help to reduce the suicide risk among this group. So encouraging professional help for persons in distress because of the COVID-19 pandemic. It's important to stay away from too much social media use because you know that much of the information is misinformation. Online counseling, and we know that domestic and child abuse actually increased during the multiple lockdowns. So integrate mental health helpline along with other helplines in place for domestic violence and child abuse, and ensure hassle-free reporting and safe shelter. So all this of course helps in reduction of suicide. So safe drinking and monitoring messages, abstinence motivational messages, because we know that substance abuse is a high risk for suicide. During isolation and quarantine, ensuring connectedness digitally so that you reduce that loneliness feeling, and community, getting a lot of community support, weekly sessions for mental health support. All this has helped in reducing the suicide incidents. Like I had already spoken about misinformation, ensuring that people reach out to authentic websites from the CDC, from the WHO, from the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. So this makes sure that they get authentic information and has also reduced the incidence of suicide. So since we are all facing economic crisis, not only in India but globally, financial packages by government, the government also has done a lot to, reduce the financial burden, ensuring food, housing, emergency funds for unemployed and homeless, ensuring safety, awareness, and transportation to homes for migration. So all this is trying to address this problem of suicide and reduce the incidence of suicide. For frontline workers who are very vulnerable, it's important that mental health care sessions are conducted, maybe having well-being cells in the workplace, peer support, flexible shifts, and especially if people who are pregnant or feeding mothers, making sure that they are not posted in the COVID areas and giving ensuring that they get adequate rest, debriefing, especially when incidents of death occurs. Sometimes young people have die, so the health workers feel very traumatized. So it's important that they have debriefing sessions so that that guilt feeling is removed and they are able to work again. Ensuring adequate and quality personal protective equipment. So all this goes a long way to reducing these feelings of depression and feeling of low feeling. Older persons were more at risk for suicide because of because of the social isolation and feeling lonely. So delivery of food, water, medicines, and making sure that connecting with them through digital platforms, ensuring that family members kept in contact with older persons. So all this helps in making them feeling better, improving their well-being. So the nursing implications primarily are is that we nurses can do a lot in reducing the incidence of suicide by counseling vulnerable people, by engaging in gatekeeper training, providing anchorage. So anchorage is like when a ship is at sea, if you don't anchor it, it moves away. So you would have all noticed that a large amount, heavy weights are put into the ocean to keep the ship from floating away once the ship has reached the harbor. So this is a similar concept which we use in suicide prevention. So try to make the person who is feeling suicidal think about the person whom he loves the most, or some aim which he or she has in life. So this will provide anchorage so that they do not attempt suicide. Educate people regarding the Mental Health Care Act, that it is decriminalizing suicide, teaching life skills to children, to students in the BSc nursing and the GNM programs, ensuring a support system in the workplace, and making sure, encouraging people to reach out for help or to talk about depression. So, we all feel very comfortable talking about diabetes and hypertension, but when it comes to depression or feeling low, people don't want to talk about it. So people should feel comfortable talking about this. Only then stigma reduces and people reach out for help, and this incidence of suicide can reduce. These are some suicide helplines. Of course, suicide helplines are there in every state in the country. The Suicide Prevention India Foundation maintains a list of telephone numbers. There's a National Suicide Prevention Lifeline too. So to conclude, creating hope through action involves creating a social movement of preventative action. This requires the involvement of everyone, and stigma has to be addressed. Only when stigma is addressed can people come out and speak openly about depression or about feeling suicidal. And nurses are very strategically placed to create hope through action. So with this, I conclude, and I thank the participants for listening patiently. I also thank the principal and Dr. Lata Venkatesan and Dr. Deepika for inviting me at this webinar. Thank you everybody, and good day.
I thank Dr. Sai Lakshmi Gandhi, HOD of Nursing Departmental session. For her wonderful session. We have the next speaker, Dr. Sunita. Dr. Sunita Sharma. Just hold on for a minute.
Ma'am is saying कि they will join by Google Meet.
Have you seen? Hi, Dr. Sunita. Are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay. Fine. Just let me introduce. Let me introduce before you start the session.
Can I share the screen?
No. Let me introduce before you start the session.
Sure,
Thank you.
sure. Okay.
We have the next speaker, Dr. We have the next speaker, Dr. Sunita Sharma, faculty in National Institute of Nursing Education, PGA MER, Chandigarh. She has completed MSc Nursing in Psychiatric Nursing, PhD, MA in English and Public Administration. Also, she has got certificate course in palliative care. Some of her awards and fellowships include, uh, you know, uh, she has presented papers in international conferences at USA, Australia, Canada, and Spain, London, Switzerland, and various national conferences. She is member of professional bodies, the following professional bodies: it is TNA, NRSI, National Research Society of India, IASP, Indian Association of Social Psychiatry, Indian Society of Oncology Nurses of India, life member of Indian Society of Psychiatric Nurses, member of Board of Nursing Studies of Punjab University, Chandigarh from 2007. She is also a member of World NCD Federation. She has total teaching experience of 27 years and total experience in nursing is 35 years. She has published more than 30 papers in national and international journals. She has been external examiner in various universities, organized various workshops, delivered guest lectures in various conferences, and she has been guest speaker in various conferences at national and international level. She also a peer reviewer for many journals. I invite Dr. Sunita Sharma to share her session with us. Thank you. Now you can please share your screen, ma'am. Just
Okay, sure, sure. Screen share. Your entire screen. इसको प्रेस कर अब इसमें करो अभी करो शेयर Is it visible?
Yeah, it is visible. Kindly make it full screen. Kindly make it full screen, the PPT. You can go for
Is it
presentation.
visible?
Yeah, it is visible. Go for full presentation mode.
Okay, okay, sure. After the slide. Slide show करते हैं.
A very good
Yeah,
afternoon to
right.
everybody, and I'm the last speaker for today. First of all, on the onset, I would like to thank Dr. Lata Venkatesan, Dr. Deepika Thaka for inviting me for this lecture. And I'm going to talk about how to generate awareness regarding suicide prevention. Now, suicide, I think my previous speakers have already talked about it. What I want to highlight is that mental health is not a communicable disease, but there is a strong body of evidence that suicide is still contagious. Publicity surrounding a suicide has been linked with increase in suicide. And that is something sad, the way it is projected, the way it is highlighted by the media or the news and whatever and all, especially among the young people. And the analysis suggests that at least 5% of the youth suicides are influenced by contagion. The evidence suggests that suicide outbreaks and clusters are real phenomena. There is a particularly strong effect from the celebrity suicides. We know that when Sushant Singh Rajput passed away, and recently we lost another very good actor, uh, Siddharth Shukla, and we heard about people trying to commit suicide because this is like they do have a strong effect from the celebrity. Though he did not commit suicide, he had a heart attack, but people who are kind of attached to the celebrities who are in suicides for that matter. Now, the percentage various causes of 2019 is about 30% people commit suicide, then marriage-related issues 6.2%, drug abuse 5.3%, love affairs failures 4%, bankruptcy or indebtedness 3.7%, then failure in examination, unemployment, professional career problems about 2%, then property dispute, poverty, death of a dear person, suspected illicit relations, then fall in social reputation and impotency or infertility. So these are the percentages of various causes of suicide. Then distribution of suicide victims by profession. Now we will see that daily wage people have committed suicide about 22%, housewives 17%, I'm sorry. And then unemployed 9.6%, self-employed. So, and professionals are 30%, farming sector 7%, students 7%, and retired persons 0.8%. Now, what could you stay hopeful when you are going through a difficult time? Going on a walk with a friend. It is extremely important that
I think she's in a low bandwidth.
you do share or maintain or even majority of the problem will out of loneliness. When we are alone, we have nobody to talk to, nobody to share our, I will say, problems. Maybe we will take some impulsive step which can go wrong. Then keeping a gratitude journal. Connect with how it is very, very important to ventilate if you are not so expressive and you don't express verbally. Maybe you can jot it down.
Excuse me, madam.
If you write down your feelings and the thoughts
Excuse me,
which are
madam.
coming in your
Sorry
mind,
to interrupt.
that can really help.
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt. Actually, we have some, I think there is some network issues that we are not able to hear you clearly. Will you please switch off your video camera so that, the audio may be
You are
clear?
not able to hear the voice.
Yeah, if you turn off your video, if you turn off your video, we may clear better.
Okay.
Just turn off your video, then you can continue.
Okay, I'll do that. Sure. Just a
इसको नीचे कर दो यहाँ से नीचे
Slides are fine. Just turn off your camera, madam. That's all.
I think it should work now.
Not open this.
Yeah, fine.
Is the voice better?
Yeah, fine now. You're fine. Just go
Better?
ahead. Yeah, better.
Oh,
Yeah, just make the slides full screen. You go ahead then.
yeah, sure, I will do that. Is that okay now?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So keeping a gratitude journal can allow you to focus on the things you are grateful for and then build up your optimism, which is extremely important. Then pause and reflect. Over the past year, many of us may have experienced feelings of overwhelm and uncertainty. So you need to pause and reflect back. Taking the time to pause and reflect may help you prioritize and manage your thoughts. Then, what are the warning signs? So, my previous speakers have already talked about it, but I will just kind of mention. Suicidal ideation may be like aggressive behavior or social withdrawal from friends, family, and community. Talking, writing, or thinking about death, impulsive or reckless behavior, and the most serious signs include putting affairs in order, giving away meaningful possessions, saying goodbye to friends and family. Then mood shifts could be from despair to calm, planning possibly by looking around to buy, steal, or borrow kind of the tools they need to complete the suicide. Then suicide warning signs could be the behavior, withdrawing from activities, looking for a way to kill themselves, such as searching online for materials or the means, then acting recklessly, isolating from families and friends, sleeping too much or too little, visiting or calling people to say goodbye, giving away the prized possession, aggression, increased use of alcohol or drugs, so, and talking, experiencing unbearable pain, being a burden to others, killing themselves, feeling trapped, having no reason to live. And then mood like depression, rage, humiliation, anxiety, irritability, or loss of interest. Now, why do we need to be careful about how we talk about suicide? It is extremely important that whenever we talk about suicide, we really have to use the words very judiciously. We need to be aware that how are we contributing to the national narrative about suicide and that our words do matter. How we talk about suicide can contribute to the public's perception about suicide prevention. So in our public messaging, whether it's communication campaign or talking to the news media, we can emphasize that prevention is possible and highlight stories of people who have made it through a suicidal crisis and recovered. Rather than lamenting, oh, he was such a nice person, we are feeling so bad that we lost him and whatever and all. We should highlight the stories of people who managed to kind of make it through the crisis situation. That will be a positive thing to do. So what is the best way to talk about suicide? Let's know about that. Now there is information that we can share that emphasizes prevention and recovery. How many people called a suicide prevention helpline so that we know that helpline was helpful and if they contacted somebody on time, they could save their life. Then how many health systems are working to change their practices for providing suicidal care? Finding ways to show prevention is possible is critical to empowering people to take action. We also need to tell real individual stories of prevention and hope. Right now in Dr. Deepika's lecture, we heard that story. So for decades, survivors of suicide loss have been critical to advocating for effective suicide prevention. In recent years, individuals who have experienced suicidal thoughts or attempts have also begun to share their stories. They are motivational, and we must have heard about the TED Talks which we have on line in the social media now, and they are very, very motivating. So prevention professionals can weave these stories into their messaging to build a national narrative that tells the public suicide is preventable. So improved surveillance and monitoring of suicide and suicide attempts is required for effective suicide prevention strategies. cross-national difference in the pattern of suicide and changes in the rates, characteristics and methods of suicide highlight the need for each country to improve the comprehensiveness, quality, and timeliness of their suicide-related data. Now, this includes vital registration of suicide, hospital-based registries of suicide attempts, and nationally representative surveys collecting information about self-reported suicide attempts. Then act. What do we do? Acknowledge the concern. Acknowledge that you are witnessing harassment, intimidation, or bullying. Care. Let them know you care. Show you care by letting the person experiencing how you are connected and you want to help. Tell a trusted adult. Encourage them to tell a trusted adult. If safety is a concern, report immediately. Losing time means losing life. So we cannot be indecisive in that matter. Immediate intervention needs to be done, and high risk management needs to be done for the people. So suicide prevention advice is wait. Wait is watch out for signs of distress and changes in behavior. For this, we have to be a very keen observer. We might not miss the signs, verbal or non-verbal cues need to be kept in mind. It is extremely important. Then ask, are you having suicidal thoughts? It will pass. Assure your loved one that help their suicidal feelings will pass with time. Right now you're feeling little low. Right now you feel that there is no meaning in living, but this time will pass because ups and downs in life are part of all of us. Then talk to others. Encourage your loved ones to seek help from a general practitioner or a health professional who will be in a better place to give them timely help, what they really, really require. So you are never alone. You have to tell people you are responsible. You are not responsible for anyone who chooses to take their own life. As friends, family, and loved ones, all you can do is to listen, support, and assist the person in getting the help they need. Connect the person to the resources and to a supportive, trusted adult. Because many times, maybe your counseling is not helping this person. So you need to be resourceful enough. Maybe you have to refer them to the psychiatrist. Maybe they need immediate admission in the hospital. You need to do that. Accept and listen to the person's feelings and take them seriously. Don't take it as a joke. Oh, you're just trying to be too dramatic and don't talk about taking your life and all. That's just a joke. It is not that easy and whatever and all. Please listen to this person's feelings very seriously. Respond. If a person has a plan to attempt suicide and tell someone you trust, it is very, very important. Empower the person to get help and to call the lifeline. Because suicide is, we know that we are going to lose many people, and depression is treatable, suicide is preventable, because when you care, you can help save a life. And saving somebody's life is something great you can do in your lifetime. That means you have done something great. So knowing the signs, so the teens have the signs and the older adults, you will see like there are many signs which we have already talked about. Feeling hopeless, desperate, anxiety, agitation, mood changes, withdrawal, talking about being a burden to others, having a helplessness, hopeless, helplessness, then giving away the possessions, putting affairs in order. So we have to kind of really know these signs. It is extremely important. For anyone out there who's suicidal, so what do you think you want to end? You have to ask the person, your life? Or what you actually want to end? It is not what they want to end their life, but they want to put an end to like they feeling like a burden, or they're exhausted, they're fed up of their life. Flashbacks to the past trauma is not letting them live their life, feeling trapped in a negative situation, negative thoughts, loneliness. So you have to make the person realize that you don't want to end your life. You want to end this chapter of your life, which is like full of burden and you're exhausted of living this life. So if you share this with others, maybe you can save someone's life. So it is okay to talk about suicide. We don't have to be like having any apprehension about talking about suicide. Suicide is not the answer to our problems. So if you start thinking about suicide, seek help. Call or text a crisis line or a trusted friend. Make an appointment with a healthcare professional to talk about what you think or how you are feeling. Suicidal thoughts are a symptom, just like any other. They can be treated and they can improve over time. So the thoughts when they are coming, if they are taken care of well on time, you can save one life. So if we talk about the workers or at work, the well-being, it kind of contributes to the safe workplace physical environment and safety climate. What sort of physical environment do you have and the safety climate for you? Then workplace policies and the work culture. How are the bosses? How are the subordinates? How are your co-workers? All of them do contribute to your mental health in one way or the other. And then your own health status. Can you take up that much of workload, or are you in a position to kind of, are you healthy enough to look after the patients and to work in a hospital? Because irrespective of your health, you need to take care of health of others. So are you ready to take up that role? Then work evaluation and experience. How is your work experience? How are you being evaluated? How are you feeling uh, kind of when you're working in a particular situation? So the core company to keep in mind is induction and continuous development, ability to practice and participate in workplace health safety policy, ability to reduce stigma and discrimination, knowledge and ability to refer to formal and informal support, ability to engage with supervision and coaching, participate in the implementation of quality improvement and evaluation system. Then the knowledge. The knowledge of and ability to use safe language, knowledge of primary prevention, secondary prevention, then knowledge and recognition of suicide and self-harm. Extreme that you should be in a position to recognize the person who is having a tendency of self-harm or attempting to commit suicide. Then knowledge of the theories, risk and protective factors, knowledge of mental health challenges, knowledge of trauma-informed care, understanding of how to recognize, how to respond, and how to connect. Understanding the importance of restricting access to means for prevention of suicide. Then safe communication, extremely important. In psychiatry, we do emphasize a lot on communication. How safe is your communication? Ability to effectively, compassionately, and safely communicate across multiple situations. Ability to effectively use interpersonal skills when communicating, including emotional intelligence. Ability to apply safety planning techniques, explore immediate safety, and help the person in crisis to be safe. Then collaborative support, meeting the diverse needs, aligning special persons' physical and emotional requirements, working in teams, ability to recognize power differentials, privilege and act responsibly, knowledge of services to assist a person in crisis, ability to work with diverse teams, working within a multicultural and diverse team. Now at workplace, how can we prevent? The first step in preventing suicide among employees in the workplace is ensuring that you have created a culture within your organization that makes employees feel respected and cared for. I think self-respect is something which we all kind of require and need. This is one of the basic needs. And if we feel respected and cared for, we like to work in that environment. Then fostering a sense of belonging and community is extremely important when attempting to promote emotional well-being. Now, to promote emotional well-being of one another or our team workers, it is important that we try to know that, say for example, I will say, oh, you're looking very upset today. Are you feeling low today? I'm sure is everything okay? If you want, you can share anything you feel like with me. So when you are offering yourself, the person will kind of feel that it is not only that you are trying to ask from me how much of work have you done, what is left, what assignment have you done, but knowing somebody at human level, being human, that is something which will foster a sense of belongingness. Then feeling connected to a community can decrease the risk for a suicide. Now, if we all kind of are, I would say, a productive member of the society. And if somebody says or somebody comments, you're useless, you're good for nothing, you are hardly a help to your family or to the organization or to the community at large, you will start having that feeling that maybe I am not good enough to be, I'm not worth living a life because nobody needs me. Everybody feels that I am a burden on them. So then you start having that feeling. So feeling connected to a community is extremely important. And then your work environment should promote open communication. Encourage people to seek help when they need it and encourage co-workers to support each other. You will see that peer support is extremely, I will say, one of the strongest intervention we can do because as much as your peers can understand, maybe other people will not be able to understand what you are going through. So we have to empathize with these people and not just say that, oh, I'm feeling so bad, you're feeling so low today. That is not going to help. Try to spend some time. Maybe you can even use silence. Sometimes sitting in silence with a person can also be very, very supportive and very, very comforting for that matter. Then talking about mental illness. Talking about mental illness in the workplace is another way to prevent suicide. There is a certain stigma behind having a mental illness, and the more that people hear about it and feel comfortable discussing, the better chance you have of eliminating that stigma. And there is no harm in discussing mental illness because we all go through a lot of turmoil in our life, and then but we keep moving on. So this stigma can prevent those who are dealing with mental illness from seeking help, especially in their workplaces. Employees need to know that mental illness are real health problems and they are treatable. So we should not consider, oh, we should not use these layman languages, ye to pagal hai, iska to dimag kharab hai. Mental illness is like any other illness. Mental illness is also one illness which is treatable. So we need to highlight and put emphasis upon. Try establishing mental health days, work from home policies. Due to lockdown, we all have experienced the work from home policies. So we have done this for a long time. Or flexible scheduling that would allow for a mentally healthy workplace. Then mental health days could be like taking a break, going for a picnic, going for eating out together, just ventilating your feelings, having open sessions for that matter. So these are the mental health days because the monotony of the workplace has to be broken for sure. Then working closely. In the workplace, employees are together on a consistent basis, talking and working closely. If they are aware and educated on the warning signs and risk factors for suicide, chances are they will be able to detect a problem before it escalates and can get a need person help. So lunch and learn sessions should also be held to increase awareness on symptoms and signs. So lunch and learn sessions are just going out to eat and then spending more one-to-one interaction time, talking to each other in, I can say, in close encounters and really knowing about what this person is going through. So make sure everyone in your organization knows what part they have in prevention. This has to be a collective effort. So be prepared to respond. If you encounter an employee or co-worker who's exhibiting behaviors that signal immediate risk, while waiting for first responders to arrive, stay with the person and do not leave him or her alone. It is extremely important. We all know, we have been learning about suicidal management. Never ever leave the patient alone. he or she has to be under constant, keen observation. If your organization has an emergency action plan or HR department, contact them for further help and support with how to handle the situation. A person does not have to be showing immediate signs to risk or require a response. Employees who may be at risk for suicide should be attended to before they begin to show immediate signs. As a co-worker or a manager, there are several steps you can take to reach out, such as reach out to the person and ask him how he or she is doing. And express your concerns directly to the person at risk, letting them know you are concerned about their emotional well-being and telling them that you are there. You are always there, be it any time of the day. You can tell them that you are there 24/7 for them. There is lot of emotional and moral support which is required to these people. Then be there to provide ongoing support. It is not timely, it is an ongoing support. Grievance support and coping with the loss of a co-worker. Now, in the case of suicidal deaths, it is very important to provide emotional support for all those within the workplace. The suicidal death of an employee can greatly impact other employees and the overall productivity of the company. So the employees are going to need space and time to grieve. It is said that mourning and grief time is extremely important because you need to express yourself, you need to ventilate, and it is very, very important that you give them time to express and crying out. It is very, very important to cry and to ventilate. And there was one Hindi movie, Rodali, in which there is one village which calls people to cry when somebody has passed away, so that the people who don't cry, they say it is very, very important to cry and to grieve and mourn on the death of their loved ones, so that they are expressing and they are ventilating. So they definitely need space and time to grieve. Foster an environment throughout the workplace that encourages employees to support each other in coping with the situation. People who are close to the deceased may be at risk for the similar behavior. So keep a close watch on them. Although it may be important for the organization to get back to business as usual as soon as possible. So it is important to not ignore the situation and give your employees the time and space they need to get through such a traumatizing event. So working together to prevent suicide is like to observe the behavior, the feelings, then the physical signs and the thoughts. Now 5 steps or action steps for helping someone in emotional pain. Ask, are you thinking about killing yourself? Keep them safe. Reduce the access to some lethal, you can say, items. Be there. Listen carefully. Help them connect and stay connected. Be in touch with them. So some of the prevention strategies is strengthen the economic support, strengthen household financial security, housing stabilization policies to be adopted, strengthen access and delivery of suicide care. So approach should be the coverage of mental health conditions in health insurance policies if they are there, reduce provider shortages in underserved areas, safer suicide care through system change, create protective environments. So the approach should be reduce access to lethal means, organizational policies and culture, community-based policies to reduce excessive alcohol use, promote connectedness. So the approach should be peer norm programs. As I told you, peer support is going to be very, very effective. Community engagement activities. Then teach coping and problem solving skills. So the approach should be social emotional learning programs, parenting skill and family relationship programs, identify and support people at risk. So the approach should be the gatekeeper training. So what is the gatekeeper training? It is to equip the individuals with skills to be the first responder for someone in emotional distress. First responder, because whenever we open the gate, the first person who greets us. So the first responder for someone in the emotional distress. So we need to have the gatekeeper training. Then crisis intervention, we all know treatment for people at risk of suicide and treatment to prevent the reattempts. Now, the person who has attempted suicide once can attempt again also. So we need to keep a close watch on them always. Then lessen harms and prevent future risk. Approach should be post-vention. Post-vention is not post-intervention, it is post-vention. That means to facilitate the healing of individuals from the grief and distress of the suicidal loss, to mitigate other negative effects of exposure to suicide. So safe reporting and messaging about suicide. So the take-home message for today is when things are tough, you must be tougher. Show them that your life can be better and prove them wrong. Shining a light on suicide prevention, that is today. Thank you very much for your patient hearing.
Dr. Sunita Sharma. The floor is open for discussion. If any participants have any queries or any doubts can be clarified. Who will be concluding the session? Okay, if there is no queries, and we come to the I have shared the feedback form in the comment box, chat box. I had to open the responses. Just wait for a minute, and you can fill the feedback form to receive your certificates. The link will be open only for 10 minutes. Okay, the link will be open only for 10 minutes. And the link will be opened in 1 or 2 minutes, and it will be there only for 10 minutes. So please fill your feedback form to receive participation certificate. Okay, so by this we come to the conclusion part of this seminar today, and I thank all the speakers who joined us from different part of the country, NIMHANS, PG Chand here, and from AIIMS. And I thank all the speakers and all the MS Nursing students, faculties of College of Nursing, Department of Psychiatry, Nursing, and I thank Dr. Deepika Kaka who initiated and taken forward and to make this possible, and I also thank Dr. Lata Venkateshan, Principal College of Nursing, for supporting us to conduct this program. I thank once again all the participants for participating today in this program. Thank you.
Yeah, now the link is open.
बोल दीजिए बीच में आ जाओ यहाँ पे
I would like to thank all of you for participating. We have activated the feedback link. It is only activated for 10 minutes, so people who will be filling the feedback form would be receiving the certificates. And I would just try to reiterate by saying that whatever we have learned today, try to apply it into practice, because all of us can make a difference in the life of a person and be lifesavers. So I hope this will go a long way in making you like the guardians or the gatekeepers to help people who are suffering in silence to come out and ask for help. And in case somebody comes out and asks for help, please do the needful at the earliest. So thank you so much for your participation, and kindly fill the forms, feedback form, so that you can get the certificate. Thank you so much.
स्ट्रीमिंग ऑफ कर दूं स्ट्रीमिंग स्ट्रीमिंग ऑफ कर दूं
किसका?
स्ट्रीमिंग
उसके क्या नाम से है यूट्यूब?